The emerging questions after Stefon Diggs' season-ending injury, plus the Texans. They're getting points in New York. Are the Jets even a factor? Are they even alive? Let's get into that and a lot more. Pre-game edition-ish. The locker room. Let's go.
Yeah. It's the locker room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey. Locker room, yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk, yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize, every angle's what we really do. We the source, we the pulse of the city too. Landlocked, got the game in the headlock. Localize every time, can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, we top two and we not two.
It is the locker room, number one source for Texans digital content. I'm Landry Locker. This video brought to you by BetUS. Go to BetUS, use promo code YouTube150, get 150% deposit in your first deposit up to $2,000, 125% after that. And if you've been following along, we've been winning some bread when it comes to the Texans. If you missed this week's parlay, go ahead and check that out. It's going to it's going to be a nice little game. Let's get into the questions when it comes to Stefon Diggs. Stefon Diggs emerging questions, and I got 5 questions about the season-ending injury of Stefon Diggs. Question 1 is obvious. How do they replace Stefon Diggs in the short term? And tomorrow we'll get a look at that. Now, 2 Sundays from now, they're going to have Nico Collins back against the Lions, and it becomes a little bit easier. But as the season goes on, if Tank Dell or Nico Collins misses, what does that look like? How do they replace Stefon Diggs? Does Xavier Hutchinson take the next step? Does John Mechie step up? Do they find it in other ways? Do they find ways to run the ball, which might be a little bit more difficult as well? We'll get to that later on in the show. But question 1, how do they replace him in the short term? Should they make a trade? There's a lot of talk about, should they be looking to trade for somebody on the market? Should they be adding somebody? Should they be looking at someone that they can add this year and next year, given the fact that Stefon Diggs is a free agent? How do they replace Diggs in the short term? I think it's going to be really interesting to see how they do that, how Bobby Slowick handles it. This is going to be as hard as it gets tomorrow, as difficult as it gets, because you're not going to have Nico Collins, and you'll get Nico Collins back eventually. But tomorrow is going to be very, very difficult because Stefon Diggs is your number 2 receiver. So we'll see how that goes there. The Jakobi Meyers is the name that seems to be the most intriguing. There's a little bit of a history there. The Raiders are an absolute dumpster fire. Cooper Kupp was believed to potentially be a trade candidate not too long ago, and now there's talk that he's off the market. For me, that I don't know if the Texans think that he fits into what they do, and he could help them not just for the remainder of the year, but next year as well. I think that would be something to look into. And I also think eventually the Rams are going to have to say goodbye to Cooper Kupp, whether it's after this season, whether it's after next. I don't have like the cap implications in front of me, but they like Puka, they like Jordan Whittington, and Cooper's making a lot of money, and who knows how much longer Matthew Stafford's going to play. So maybe it's a move for this year and next year. But how do they figure it out? Jakobi Meyers is the name I'm looking at. I've heard Adam Thielen as well. Don't hate either one of those names. I think you're talking like day 3 pick type of territory for those teams, and both of those teams are completely lost causes. Question number 2 with the Stefon Diggs thing. Has Diggs played his last game as a Texan? I think it's very possible. I think it's very likely, quite frankly. I think it's possible, and I don't have any reason not to think that. And quite frankly, I think there's kind of probably a shelf life with the Diggs thing. I know he was on his best behavior this year. He was on a contract year. I don't think he's like going to break up the locker room or anything like that, but I think you're going to have 2 more years after this of Tank Dell on his rookie deal. You have Nico Collins. You have 1 more year of CJ Stroud. Eventually, you're going to have to pay some of these guys. Who knows what Stefon Diggs is going to demand on the market. my thing is this: if Stefon Diggs, like let's say his market value is dropped, if you get Stefon Diggs cheap, how do you think that's going to go? If he feels like he's playing for less than the value that he believes that he's worth when he's healthy, and that who knows how he recovers from his injury, like how much do you really need Stefon Diggs? I think they need to go young at receiver, look young at receiver, or find a vet to replace Diggs. So I think he's probably played his last game as a Texan. And that's just kind of where that is. The next two questions are about mistakes, and be sure to subscribe, like, right along. It is the Locker Room, number one source for Texans digital content. SNL tomorrow at 9 a.m. We got the post-game show. So the 10:30 night stream is also going to be a post-game show tomorrow. So that one is going to be very, very fun after the Jets game. So be sure to join me for that. Question 3, what though, was the trade a mistake? I don't think so, and I don't think people look at this trade the right way. People continue to talk about how you gave up a second-round pick. You traded back 19 spots for Stefon Diggs. Like it was essentially a three-way trade. They traded for the second-round pick because they knew they were going to trade it for Diggs. That's what happened. They didn't just randomly decide to trade with the Vikings. That's what they did. So, do you think that trading back 19 spots for a guy that was holding it down for Nico Collins for a few games, that was your second best receiver when he was in there, do you think that was a mistake? I would say no. I don't think that was a mistake at all by the Texans to make that trade. It was essentially a three-way trade, so I have no problem with it. You also had a second-round pick. Like, it's being presented as they traded their second round. No, they had a second-round pick. They still had a full draft. So I don't think the trade was a mistake. Question 4, do I think Diggs made a mistake? I think perhaps he did. Stefon Diggs getting the last few years of his contract off, I don't think he's going to duplicate what he was set to get. Now, the money wasn't guaranteed, so maybe there's that, but I think you can make a case that maybe Diggs made a mistake making this the final year of his contract, but we'll see. There's a lot of demand for receivers. He was a model citizen here, but he does kind of have a reputation. And fair or not, that is kind of the reputation. When you start giving the reputation other things to think about outside of production, and you start wondering, how is this guy going to bounce back from the torn ACL? I just don't know that too many people are going to be investing tippity top dollar for Diggs, but you never know. It's the wide receiver position, and that's interesting. But I would say if Diggs had continued to play the way that he was playing, I think perhaps he doesn't regret it, but this is going to be tough for him. Question 5, can Tank Dell step up? I know Tank Dell is a fan favorite around here, and I love Tank Dell. I like talking to Tank Dell. I think Tank Dell's a good player. Do I think Tank Dell is in the discussion with the Diggs, Nico Collins? I don't. I think he's a distant third. And production-wise, he's been a distant third. And quite frankly, he hasn't performed to the caliber of somebody who's even supposed to be in the discussion that we were having at the start of the season about who was the best receiver, and you would even hear Tank Dell thrown into that mix. I don't think he's there. I think Tank Dell right now is good. Can he carry the load? Can he be the solid number 2? We got a glimpse of it, and I keep hearing about what we saw last year. Damien Pierce had a good rookie year. Damien Pierce was on track to be top 8 in the league in rushing or something like that. Like, you see guys have rookie years. Sometimes the league kind of catches up. They're guarding the Texans a lot different, and I think the person that is suffering the most as a result of the deep coverage and the way that CJ Stroud and the Texans are being covered is Tank Dell. Now, you can say, well, you know, when you have Diggs and when you have Nico, you're not going to get as many opportunities. Okay. Nico Collins has missed the last few weeks. We haven't really seen Tank Dell perform at a very high level. We saw the touchdown last week with the short field. The week before that, we saw him not have a catch. And he had a drop touchdown that perhaps would have won you that game against the Green Bay Packers. So can Tank Dell step up? Am I dismissing the possibility of it? No, but we need to see more from Tank Dell. We 100% need to see more from Tank Dell. So we'll see what happens with Tank Dell. I like this comparison by Life of Colby. I see a OBJ type journey for Diggs for the rest of his career. So I guess you're saying like the 1 year, $15 million guaranteed, and then you go to the next team, and then you go to the next team. I can see that. I don't think with Tank Dell, with Nico Collins, with potentially getting a young guy with Hutchinson, he's going to be in year 3 next year. He's on a rookie deal. Mechie's going to be on the final year of his rookie deal. I think churning wide receivers, especially young, talented ones, I think it's the way to go. I don't think you invest as heavily once you have to pay CJ Stroud after the season. If you can get Diggs on a 1-year deal, cool. Kind of like Colby's talking about. But am I giving Stefon Diggs a 3-year, $60-ish million deal or something like that coming off a torn ACL when Nico Collins' contract is going to kick in? You're going to have to evaluate Tank Dell. You hope Xavier Hutchinson takes the next step. Derek Stingley is going to have to get paid. Christian Harris is going to have to get paid. You're going to have to figure out what the hell you want to do with the offensive line. No, the answer is no. So it's a tough business. We're not used to it. And I'm saying we, as in all of us, like covering the Texans, we're not used to having to say goodbye to good players. We kind of saw it. We got a little bit of a glimpse of it last year with Jonathan Grenard and Blake Cashman. But even then, you had guys that you paid that you brought in. That's not going to be the case once CJ Stroud starts getting paid. Like there's times where Kansas City's had to say goodbye to their starting left tackle. They've had to trade Tyreek Hill. They've had to make a lot of tough decisions. That's what's eventually going to happen. So when you're in that situation, when you have younger guys, when really the place that you're at is a popular destination. So guys who are free agents that are looking for 1-year deals and they're looking to play in a good situation, it kind of opens up the market. You know what I mean? Like, so let's say there's the equivalent of a Odell Beckham Jr. On a 1-year deal or something like that. Not now, but I'm saying like in the past, when there was value to it. The Texans are kind of one of those destinations. Like when he went to the Rams and they won the Super Bowl. That's what the Texans are right now, and that's what that's why you got to say goodbye to some of those guys eventually. So I would say that he is gone. Angel Gonzalez on the Super. CJ is on that special deal. The time is now. Yeah, he's on that special rookie deal. Yeah, the time is now. I'm with you. Eventually, you're going to have to say goodbye. But yeah, the Diggs thing, I don't think so. I do want to see Tank Dell step up though. It would be nice, and tomorrow would be huge. You know, there's been situations where Nico Collins has held it down. Been situations where Diggs has held it down. Been situations where Mixon has held it down. There's been situations where they've held it down for Mixon. They've been holding it down for a lot of guys on defense. It would be really nice for Tank Dell tomorrow as the unquestioned wide receiver 1. I think this is the first time really that, I mean, I don't really count last year. And really he wasn't even asked to carry the wide receiver room last year, but this is going to be the one time before Collins is back against the Lions where Tank Dell is the unquestioned wide receiver 1. You have the most chemistry with CJ Stroud. You have by far the most statistical production. This is a game where Tank Dell needs to step up. Right now, I think his over-under in receiving yards is like somewhere around 60. He's got to get past that. You got to get 3 figures for Tank Dell tomorrow. Now, it's going to be tough because he's probably going to have Sauce Gardner on him for quite a large majority of the time. And I would imagine that the attention is going to be on Tank Dell, although you probably don't have to put a lot of attention when you have Sauce Gardner over there. But tomorrow's a Tank Dell game. He's got to step up. We talk about Hutchinson, we talk about Mechie and all that. That means nothing if you don't get Tank Dell holding it down. It means nothing. That they need more than just Mechie and Hutchinson. So, like, we've spent a lot of time, rightfully so, and I was asking Mechie and Hutchinson about deja vu, and I also asked Tank about being hurt last year. We talk a lot about that. How about Tank Dell? It's been a disappointing start to the season. We can give a lot of reasons. I won't even call them excuses, reasons why Tank Dell hasn't produced the way in which we hoped he would produce, but there's no excuse tomorrow. There's no excuse. You need Tank Dell to hold it down. This team has been next man up all year. They've been holding it down. CJ and Tank. CJ calls Tank one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. Got to see it tomorrow. Got to see it. It's an opportunity. He seems excited about it. He says he's ready to play in New York. You know he's going to be spatted up. Think the Jets are rocking the All Blacks. It's Tank Dell's time, man. 100% Tank Dell's time. We got to see a big game from Tank Dell tomorrow. He's got to have his best game of the season. He's got to have his best game of the season. No questions asked. And that's really not a high bar. I mean, if you're looking at what Tank Dell has done this year, you look at the production of Tank Dell, it hasn't been great at all. So you got to see the best game from Tank Dell, and it's got to happen tomorrow. And I'm not completely dismissing it. I think he's got a chance to do it. You look at Tank Dell's game log. Tank Dell on the season has 38 catches. 24 catches, actually. 38 targets. 24 catches on 38 targets. 9.5 yards per catch. That's not good. His best game was against New England. He had 7 catches for 57 yards and a tutty. He's had a 4-catch game for 38 yards. He's had a 5-catch game for 62. That was against the Vikings. That was kind of mop-up duty. He actually got hurt in that game. If y'all remember, a few of those catches came in the fourth quarter. Against Indianapolis, he had 3 catches for 40. He had a game against Chicago where he had 1 catch for -3. He's had a -3-yard game this year. And then he had a catchless game on 4 targets against Green Bay. You need Tank Dell to step up. It's his time. Got to be. No questions asked at all. Can't not have a big game from Tank. And quite frankly, I'm starting him on my fantasy team. I mean, it's been a disappointment with Tank Dell in fantasy. He's starting on my fantasy team. Promise you that. That's a given. Tank Dell's a must start at this point. Matter of fact, I mean, if we're looking at the odds with Tank Dell, let's look at what the yardage is on BetUS. I'll just pull this up. It counts up to 2,300, by the way. Might have took the over on the Celtics game. Put that parlay money in there. Let's go to the prop again. Promo code BetUS150. This ain't no advertisement. This is me trying to make money. YouTube 150 if you want to. Let's look at the Tank Dell over under receiving yards. Tank Dell's receiving yards. Texans versus Jets. 56.5. Like, come on, bro. You've got 56.5. Come on. Let's put a bill 25 on that. That's that. I mean, you can't not do that. So I just put a bill 25. I just gassed myself up on that. Better get off here before I just start acting too crazy. Spin him. See if it goes there. Yeah, it's in. There you go. Bet is in. There you go. BetUS. There you go. 57. Like, come on. You got to get that 57. Come on, Tank. All right, bet successful. So there we go. Lovely. Do you think Tank Dell can step it up? Who are you expecting to step up from the Texans when it comes to the receiving core? Who's stepping it up? Do you trust Xavier Hutchinson? Do you trust John Mechie? Did John Mechie talk you into the belief? I mean, we're talking about 57 yards for Tank Dell. I mean, we're not sitting here saying he's got to go out there and put up Nico numbers. I mean, that's kind of where the bar is. And I know Sauce is a good corner. He's a really, really good corner. Kind of a polarizing topic around here. But Come on. 57 yards? You got to give me 57. Can't have that. Can't have that. Texans going to be shorthanded on defense again. No Azeez Al-Shire, no Jimmy Ward. Both of them are going to be out. So the safety position will be interesting. Eric Murray's coming off arguably his best game as a Texan. Little different with Aaron Rodgers, although I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to be able to avoid what the Texans got on the edge. And to me, that's the thing that I always look at. What travels and what can you count on? Like with this Texans team, you look at some of the things that you like most. What things do you think you can actually count on, and what things travel best more times than not in football? I think there's two things, and the one thing the Texans have going for them is those two things they have, and that's a run game and that's a pass rush. And the pass rush with Will Anderson and with Danielle Hunter, that travels. There's not a lot that the Jets are going to be able to do to stop that. Jets also have a crappy offensive line. They had a crappy offensive line last year. They have a crappy offensive line this year. So that travels. Also a run game. With Joe Mixon in the lineup from beginning to end, the Texans have run the ball effectively every time for a bill plus with Joe Mixon. So that travels. Those are the two things you can count on. You can't count on CJ Stroud production. You can't. It's not up to him. If it were 100% up to him, then you would be able to count on it. But there's problems with protection. And right now, the Texans are in a situation where the protection, it's not about protecting CJ Stroud at this point. It's about how he handles it. He handled it good last week. The week before, he was unable to handle it. Is that fair? No, it's not an ideal situation. But that's reality. You can't rely on that production. You can't rely on the pass game. You don't have Tank Dell. Even when they've had guys, they've struggled with the pass game. So you can't rely on that. But there are two things that you can rely on. And in a short week, you look at the D-line and you look at the run game. Those aren't bad things to have to rely on. Some teams would kill for a pass rush. That's why edge rushers get paid so much. Run game, that can be kind of an equalizer. So you got that going for you. Defensively, how much do you miss Jimmy Ward this game? This feels like a game that they really, really could have used him. Al-Shire, same thing. He's got to rest up, though. And the other thing about Al-Shire, and I know you look at like the games missed and you say, well, he's missed a couple games. That sucks. He played hurt in 2 games. He played sick, and then he had a knee injury, and he came back in against New England, forced the turnover, and now it's just ice up. Get ready for Detroit. I think we see both of those guys back against Detroit, just like Nico Collins. I think you can probably take that to the bank. But the linebacker depth is kind of a concern as well because you have Henry To'oTo'o coming back. I think he'll be fine. But then Hansen and Hewitt, they've never played short weeks. And Devin White, I mean, he did a hell of a lot for someone who wasn't really in game shape yet, and you're asking him to play here as well. People were asking about the draft. I don't give a rat's ass about the draft right now. I'm not trying to be a hardo or anything like that, but I mean, we're halfway through the season. They're trying to compete, maybe for even home field. I don't give a rat's ass what they pay. I haven't even looked at what the prospects are or anything like that. I don't like. Do they draft this position? I don't know. I have no opinion on the draft right now. Maybe that's me going to Miko Hardo. It kind of is what it is. I don't care about that. Draft, come on, man. Trade, yeah, we'll get to that. And another advantage I think the Texans do have is the trade deadline is November 5th. So they're going to play tomorrow, and then they're going to have 6 days without playing. So D'Amico and Caserio going to have a longer break. They'll be able to kind of pick each other's brains and figure out what they got to do. I think that's an advantage. But the draft, I don't care about the draft right now at all. Like I don't even know who does. Shout out to A1 on the super chat, Swarm in the super chat, I should say.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
With a lot off the team still being on rookie contracts, would a high value veteran like Hill or Cup be smarter just to reach? I think Cup could be like a long-term type of guy. And quite frankly, like if you look at this team and you look at how this team is operating right now and what they have, like what they're going against, I feel like a slot guy that is just like an absolute savage in the slot. I think it would give this team an element that they don't currently possess. And we're talking about one of the best slot guys to do it. Honestly, I mean, I know it's not the largest body of work, but we're talking about one of the best to do it in Cooper Kupp. Now, maybe he's declined a little bit the last couple of years. There's natural, but if you put Cooper Kupp with Nico Collins and with Tank Dell, I think it's good. What is the price, though? That would be my question. Like, what is the price? But eventually, I mean, I could even see a situation where after the season, Cooper Kupp is a name that comes up because, as I said before, the Rams, they have two guys in the slot that they like that are both on rookie contracts, like cheap-ass rookie contracts. Puka Nacua was undrafted. They like him in the slot. Jordan Whittington was, I think he was a 4th or 5th round pick out of Texas. They like him. They're going to have to make some tough decisions eventually. They might be in rebuild mode before we know. We don't know how much longer Stafford's going to play. It seems like Stafford's been getting banged up for 15 years. So I would like Kupp. Tyreek Hill, I don't even know if that's a possibility with Tyreek Hill. I don't know why the Dolphins would give him a new contract this year and then trade him. I don't think the Tyreek Hill thing is crazy, but I mean, I do think it's crazy. I don't even know where that would come from. I have no idea about Tyreek Hill. That's crazy. That happens. That's wild, but I just don't see that happening. What would the price be for Kupp would be a question. I just think eventually that's going to happen. I don't know. Yeah, Kupp made of glass. He's banged up for sure. There's no doubt about it. He's banged up for sure. That's a thing. That is a well-known fact. But if he's out there and he's balling, hell, even if he's doing what he was week 1, that'll be interesting. People are saying Darius Slayton. I like Darius Slayton. I think Darius Slayton's good. I don't know what the Giants are doing. Brian Dable, I'm just not a big fan of what he's got going right now. They were weird for giving Daniel Jones the contract, but they got some young receivers that they like. So Slayton might not fit into what they do. I like Darius Slayton. I don't know how the front office here feels about Darius Slayton. I like Darius Slayton. I mean, if that's a day 3 pick, cool. Chris Olave, that's probably expensive. That would be sick though. If you get Chris Olave, I mean, you're talking probably a 1st or 2nd for Olave, probably 2nd. I don't know. Why would the Saints want to get rid of him? That would be a question. I know him and CJ are tight. He likes Chris Olave. Seems like a popular name, just doesn't seem very realistic. Someone says the Jets O-line is ranked 6th right now. I still can see. Based on what though? Like that's like who's ranking that? Is it PFF or what? I don't. Aaron Rodgers does a good job sometimes of getting rid of the ball and making the O-line look better too. 6, yeah, their O-line sucks. They'll allow sacks. Space City Ballers, Landry. I hope we and Garrett Wilson see CJ tomorrow. He pulls the Tank Dell and tells CJ to tell him to come get him. Garrett Wilson. Okay, so we're going CJ Stroud, old teammates. If they trade Garrett Wilson, that's hilarious. I don't think that's going to happen. DK Metcalf, yeah, I think that's that high grade right there.
High grade marijuana called Kush on the streets. Did you know what that was?
Now I do.
Neither.
They're good. Seattle's not bad. They got receivers, JSN, and they got Lockett. I don't know that they're trying to make a trade. I don't think Garrett Wilson's an option. Yeah. Steph's not retiring. Promise you that. There's a 0% chance Stefon Diggs retires. Can promise you. Oh, PFF can't grade offensive linemen. They're kind of weird. Sometimes they do all right, but PFF is weird with offensive linemen and nickel corners. I'm not going to go on the nickel corner rant. But yeah, the Texans will be shorthanded on defense again. They will also be without Jared Patterson, which normally wouldn't be a big thing, but that's your starting left guard. Jared Patterson, I think it's safe to say he's your starting left guard. Kenyon Green's your backup guard right now. And then we don't know what they think of Kendrick Green. But that's where you're at right now. Patterson, like had Patterson never gotten hurt, he's starting. Kenyon Green's the backup. So you're basically starting your backup. I know Kenyon's been in the lineup all year and there's a lot of frustration. They already showed that they're willing to bench him. It's just the guy that they benched him for is out. So now you're basically starting your backup guard. So I think that might actually give you a peace of mind. That might actually be like a good way to look at this when it comes to Kenyon Green is that it's not like they're just keeping him in the lineup to keep him in the lineup. He's your backup guard. So look at him like he's a backup guard. The whole Kenyon Green starting guard, no questions asked, no competition in camp, that died. Now it rose from the dead relatively quickly because Patterson got hurt, but that died. That went away. He's your backup guard. So you're starting a backup guard. You got backup receivers going. You have backup linebackers going. Kenyon Green's a backup guard. So look at him that way. He might be your worst backup that's starting, but that's what he is. So that's that as far as the Kenyon Green thing goes. I want to get to another injury. Damien Pierce. Is that injury bigger than it seems? And the reason I ask is because I like Joe Mixon. I like what Joe Mixon does. I like what Joe Mixon brings. I think Joe Mixon is capable of doing anything you could possibly ask a running back to do. And I think there's even more value with Joe Mixon than the stat sheet. And the stat sheet is all pro caliber ball when he's in the game. But I still don't want Joe Mixon to have to carry the ball 25 times a game. And when Joe Mixon takes a breather or when Joe Mixon's off the field, I would like to have running backs that can at least be serviceable between the tackles. Dare Ogunbowale has done a fine job, but Dare Ogunbowale as your backup running back, I don't feel that as much. And the Texans traded Cam Akers to the Vikings, despite the fact he was the second best running back. And a lot of people, including Cody Stutes, who's on SNL with me every morning, the simulcast, they question, why would you do this when Damien Pierce can't stay healthy and Joe Mixon has been hurt? And I'll be damned if, here we go, Damien Pierce is hurt again, and now all of a sudden J.J. Taylor's getting elevated and Dare Ogunbowale is the backup running back, a guy that you don't necessarily want running between the tackles too much. Like, he's done a good job of moving the chains a couple of times. He's done a hell of a job in the receiving game, and he's one of those guys that's great to have on a roster, but Damien Pierce is supposed to be your backup running back. He scored the touchdown a couple weeks ago. He also established himself as your top kick returner, and I'll be damned, he's out. So what do you do here? Do you need to add another running back after trading Cam Akers? Do you trust that Damien Pierce can be the backup running back? I think there's healthy skepticism even without the injuries. Like the durability concerns that we speak of with a lot of players, like it's got to be a thing with Damien Pierce at this point. The only year that he hasn't really missed a large amount of time was the year where they kind of just decided to not use him. So if you have Joe Mixon and he's having to carry this heavy load of the rushing and everything else, who's helping? I think the Damien Pierce situation is interesting because you guys, the Texans, y'all saw Damien Pierce miss damn near a handful of games, and you guys decided to trade Cam Akers to the Vikings for nothing. And now you have a game where you don't have any receivers. You have Joe Mixon. He's running on this surface that I bring up with Nico 100 times a day. And Damien Pierce is nowhere to be found. So when do you get him back? I think the Damien Pierce thing is interesting as well. So we talk about Kenyon Green. I look at Kenyon Green as a backup running back. I look at him as a backup guard. That's what he is. He's a backup guard. He's at least available. He's also banged up. Like you can see that guy. He's banged up. He's been fighting through a lot this year. He's a tough dude. He's accountable. Damien Pierce is like a good interview, and Damien Pierce, like, he's a great kick returner and all that. He can't stay healthy. And when he's in there, we don't know how good it is. So I think there's questions about running back too. We talk about receiver, we talk about guard. I think there's questions about running back. They need depth. Zero doubt about it. None. They got to figure that out. Other factor in this game, I think there's three factors when it comes to the Jets, really two. And I think there's some irony in this, that it's Halloween and I'm asking this question. Are the Jets dead or alive? Like, are they just going to completely lay down? I think there's potential. Like, what is Aaron Rodgers playing for right now? Like, what are you doing? What are you accomplishing? I mean, this was supposed to be comeback season for Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers tears his Achilles. Oh, my God, Aaron Rodgers is practicing. Aaron Rodgers, man, he made a one-handed leaping grab 3 months after tearing his Achilles. It's comeback season for Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers and the Jets, don't sleep on them. I think their Vegas win total was damn near 10 games. Don't sleep on the Jets. Look at that talent. Look at that defense. You put that, oh my God, the Jets addressed their offensive line. This is going to be awesome. Aaron Rodgers, ageless wonder. We saw Tom Brady play good into his 40s. Aaron Rodgers. They're 2-6, bro. I mean, this is a guy with a Hall of Fame career. And I know that he enjoyed like the whole comeback and I got this revolutionary doctor and I'm doing crazy stuff to my body to repair the Achilles and I'm going to come back and I'm going to defy the odds and all this type of stuff. They're 2-6. You can say they're professionals. And quite frankly, I think the Jets have a very, very strong chance to better than not win this game. All things considered, with the schedule, all that, the limitations at receiver, their defense is good, whatever. But there's also a good chance that this team could just be completely mailing it in. Completely mailing it in. What is Aaron Rodgers enjoying right now? You're in your 40s. You and Davante Adams, you all getting to like go eat dinner together? 2-6. You know, I mean, like all these quarterbacks we talk about playing into their 40s, like they're usually on good squads. Like Tom Brady left New England. It was an inevitable sinking ship. Eventually that was going to wear out at the time. He goes to Tampa Bay, finds the perfect situation. Aaron Rodgers is 2-6. So are they going to show any pulse? Even if they do, congratulations, you're 3-6. I think it's very possible that we see the Jets mailing in. There's a high mailing in factor with them. Very high. What are you accomplishing? You also have a scapegoat too. Well, maybe you don't, maybe you do. It depends how you look at it. They fired the coach. Now they got some interim coach. This guy, I don't know anything about him. I haven't even like looked into this guy. He looks like he does not belong as an NFL head coach. He looks like an absolute stooge. But did y'all see that time when he tried to throw the challenge flag? He couldn't even throw the challenge flag and it fell down. They ended up scoring on the play. And then Aaron Rodgers just goes over there and tosses it at him like, get this out of here, you idiot. This guy's clueless. They had Nathaniel Hackett. They got rid of Nathaniel Hackett. Now some other goofballs calling plays. Jets are a disaster. They're not well coached. They're old. They're washed. So there's a good chance they win the game. There's also a high possibility that they just kind of mail it in. It's possible. They do have good receivers, though. Texans got good corners, though. That's the other thing. Like what their strengths are, the Texans can figure out. I think Breece Hall is a big problem, but Davante Adams and Garrett Wilson lined up on the Texans corners. I think those are good matchups all the way around. But this team sucks. They're not good. Like, even if they win this game, this would be a schedule win. They're not turning it around. Like, what did Burrow say the other day? You got to win 10 games to get in. You think the Jets are going to finish 7-1? Aaron Rodgers knows that. What the hell is he accomplishing? This is a waste. Someone says Ginny's Dispensary in Vegas. I highly recommend. I usually go to Cookies. Cookies is where I go. It's just kind of right there. Used to go to Relief. They got rid of another one that I liked. But yeah, I'm usually going to Cookies. Planet 13's a circus. But you said Jenny's. Let me write that down. I'm gonna look this up after. See what you're talking about. But yeah, I think Cookies is my go-to. I've been to Rhythm. Planet 13 is like a damn club, bro. Like I don't know about that. You think Planet 13 is dope? I'm not as big on Planet 13. I don't like it. I liked Relief back when they had they embraced the CBD brew a little bit more. Now it's just kind of not there as much. But yeah. You already know, my friend. Someone says they prefer alcohol. I've toned that down significantly. 3-5, man, y'all are some crazy dudes. Someone says Reno. Man, I ain't going to Reno. Oh, you mean like if you're going on a trip? Okay, not like drive there for Vegas. That'd be crazy. Yeah, I bet they got some badass ones. The small towns usually have them. For sure. Do I think the NFL is rigged? Why would I think that? What's rigged about it? What's the play there? What's the question? What happened? Is the NFL rigged? +2. How we feeling about that? Bet US has it at +2. How we feeling about that? Took you a week to get back to Houston? Man, I don't know where you were turning, my friend. Supposed to be what, 16, 17 hours to drive? 16, 17? Know about that. Yeah, they could have drafted Brian Thomas with the 23rd. Yeah, I'm still an Adonai Mitchell guy. I still believe in him. I think he's kind of a victim of Anthony Richardson's current state. I still believe Adonai can be good. But yeah, there were some young receivers. I actually liked Whittington, man. I was kind of big on Whittington just because I thought he could be one of your best special teams guy, and I thought he could provide some slot usage. And the other thing is, I have a rule. Like, there's a couple of rules. If the Rams think the guy's good in the slot, the guy's good in the slot. And they thought enough of Whittington to take him relatively early with their slot guys. So that was kind of my thing. But yeah, Adonai Mitchell should have 2 touchdowns against that thing. Yeah, the parlay is nice. Garrett Wilson over receiving yards, CJ Stroud over 1.5 touchdowns. Could be tough. And Texans over 20.5. 100 to win 600. I'm actually going to have that ticket in Vegas too. I'm not getting there till Friday. I'm giving my mom money. I'm saying, Mom, can you walk up there and try to make this bet? My mom's going to be there like looking all clueless. Trying to make a damn prop parlay. Excuse me, how do you? They said something about a parlay. CJ Stroud, he plays for the Texans, right? Wilson over yards. Try to double it down. I just like the feel of the ticket. I know that like we have like the online betting now, but even then, this isn't like the best push for Bet US. I mean, I'd still do both, but like, don't you just like having that? Like, if you go to Vegas, don't you just like having that? Like, slam the money down, get the ticket. Sir, would you like free drinks? You bet your ass I would. Here's 5. Oh, they were going to give you 1. They give you 3. You walk back. You got that ticket in your hand. Everybody else has the ticket in their hand. You're sitting in the sports book. There's like random ass cheers. Someone had like the over in the Cade Stover yardage, and they're just going crazy in the first quarter. You hold on to that ticket after they win, after the team wins. You want to go cash the ticket, and then you hand it to the guy up front, and he's like puts it through the thing. Sir, this hasn't gone in yet. Hey, do we have the font? No, try it again. Nah, still not good. So then you go back in line. There's like 2 people in line. You're just sitting there sipping and stuff, chilling. Then all of a sudden, like, you give him the ticket. Boom. He gives you like the money. It's always jacked up because of the hook. So they're like giving you change. You put the change. You slip a couple 2. Would you like some more drinks, sir? Yes. 2 more drinks. Boom. You got 5 drinks and a 1 bet. You can't do that anywhere else. That's what the hell it is. Sign me up for it. Had some crazy stuff in Vegas. One time I went to Vegas and I went to the Mirage. I was actually covering spring training. We drove to the Mirage just for the night. Like, really. We went there for it was like a 6-hour Vegas trip from Arizona. We went to the Mirage, and one of my radio mentors, Mark Friedman, Frito, rest in peace, my friend. We had the guy on that was the head of betting or whatever there. His name was Jay Rude. Never forget him. I don't think he works there. Mirage doesn't even exist anymore, but Jay Rude, he was there. He was like the head. So we talked to him on the phone for years, and we went out. He said, anytime y'all come to the Mirage, just ask for me. I'll talk to you. I was like, okay. So we went up to this Jay Rude dude. We said, hey, is Jay here? Jay comes through. Dude, this dude whips out like free meal comp or whatever there. And then he hands me 45 drink coupons. And I'm sitting there like, oh, sick, dude. Next time I come here, I think I was going to come to Vegas in like a couple months. He's like, no, these are all for tonight. And I'm like, I do 45 drink coupons. We use them all somehow. I don't know how. I think we were being friendly. Just get really excited going to Vegas. Kind of digress a little bit, but that is what it is. BetUS promo code YouTube 150. Texans versus Jets. We got SNL Manana. We got a game Manana. We got Halloween Manana. We got Reaction Friday, the day after Manana. We got a hell of a lot to get to in such little time. It's an interesting week. It's a fun week. A1 asking another question. Trade for OBJ with a late round pick. I don't know what OBJ does for this squad that Xavier Hutchinson and Mechie can at this point. Quite frankly, I think OBJ, he played really good for the Rams, but I think tearing the ACL in that Super Bowl, I think he's kind of washed. He kind of looked a little bit washed with the Ravens last year. So that would be a no for me, dog, but you never know what they're going to do. But we do know one thing. They're going to play tomorrow against the Jets. It's going to be a fun time, and we will have the post game tomorrow at 10:30, SNL, 9 a.m. Always remember, when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together. Let's go.
Top 2 and we not too plugged in daily digital on YouTube. We got taste for days, opinions to give, we got takeaways. If it's up, then it's up. We number 1. You don't need to try your luck.